I am a managing director of a financial advisory firm in California, and I make my living there doing what only a few short years ago was completely unknown and completely unnecessary. I advise public companies on their very complicated accounting and reporting issues as they present their financial statements to regulatory bodies, and especially to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC. I'd like to offer 3 reasons, at least, why this merits our consideration today. First of all, these financial standards drive very important decisions. They help people understand the relative worth of 2 different investments or multiple investments. They help you understand how things perform relative to expectations and relative to other companies. And they affect your expectations of the future. But it's hard enough to make decisions when you have all of the facts. It's particularly difficult to make them when you have bad reports, and you're likely to get bad decisions when you don't have good financial reporting. The second reason that it's worth considering them here today is that they're very interesting. First of all, they're very complicated and they're very complex. They involve a lot of questions that you might never expect to have to deal with in dealing with financial reporting. How something is doing, whether or not something is real, or whether or not it's something that should not be interpreted just yet as being real. They are also changing very rapidly. We're going to talk a little bit about how rapidly they're changing. They also reflect, to a large degree, the impact of both language and culture. Because as we'll see around the globe, as business becomes more and more global, and the decisions that have to be made have to count for the preferences of different countries and different cultures, that these financial reporting standards can bend and change pretty rapidly. And as I mentioned earlier, by and large, they're driven by failure and scandal. In fact, many of those rules that we live with today in our day-to-day work in financial reporting have to do and evolve from the fact that somebody found a slick way of getting around the old rules. And so they had to be tightened up pretty significantly. And finally, the judgments that are based on these rules often affect the lives of millions of people, sometimes hundreds of millions of people around the world. Think about the whole issues about the environment and how we allocate our resources to different technologies based upon often financial judgments, and who is willing to invest in what kind of new facility or new technology based upon the kinds of returns they might expect to get. Many of these decisions are driven directly from what is reported to you regularly from these large companies.